Good afternoon. Today is Sunday, the 29th of December, and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. It's been a good 2 weeks since I have posted, and we've had this Christmas thing in between. And a lot of people have been falling ill, I included. Now, this is what I want to talk about. The actual subject of this conversation in this video is going to discuss what you can eat and do to help your body release itself of toxins. I don't want to use the word detox because that has been sensationalized and it's detox this and detox that and all this nonsense. No, it's understanding the absolute importance of why we should constantly be thinking all the time that of keeping our body in some kind of a balanced state based on our constitution. Now, constitution is not the right word. The actual right word is dosha. And the three doshas, vata, pitta, kapha, but there aren't any English terms that can explain that because English is a primitive language. These are terms used in Ayurveda that were originally written in Sanskrit, one of the most ancient languages, alongside ancient Hebrew, alongside Aramaic and Chinese arguably too. So, before I digress, which I do all the time, what I'm going to explain to you first of all is what I understand that happened to myself and my brother in the last week and a half. And then I'm going to go through some toxin removal protocols that you can use, which are really, when I say toxin removal, it's a way of life. Again, this is what this channel is about. It's living a certain way of life where foods and drinks and herbs that you eat at certain times, certain seasons, based on the elements, based on the weather, based on where you live, and also the astrological cycles and where the sun is, where the moon is, where the planets are. All of those things, if we were educated in these things, the probability of us falling very ill would be low. Of course, there's also, well, I don't have to elaborate, the design, the specific intention to kill us all through toxins in every part of our lives that we can imagine. Do I need to start? Everything, anything and everything has got toxins in it. We're breathing them. Everything I'm touching, the plastic, what we wear, what we eat, what we breathe, what we spray. And cumulatively, these are killing us. We're slowly dying. And also, all this stuff that's going on as well, that's gone on. And that has, people have just literally like dominoes falling everywhere. We're talking about many, many thousands, millions. Let's be clear, shall we? Millions. Anyway, last week sometime, maybe longer than a week ago, both my brother and I, just 2 days apart, literally fell ill. We were all right 1 minute and the next minute we were down. And it was the most awful, everything these days is called the flu because we have been taught that the symptoms of a flu are your headache, sneezing, and there's all these different types, and they've got all sorts of different names, yes, as we know. But actually all that is, learn to think differently, is the body saying toxin alert, rest. We need to deal with it, because what happens is the innate immune system, got my kitten here who's, where the innate immune system, which is the first port of call, deals with it, and then if we're not able to suppress it, then the adaptive immune system kicks in, and then the soldiers start coming in, and new viruses are made to protect it. New soldiers are made to protect it from these new viruses that are within our body that are mutating. You don't catch a virus from outside. That's all nonsense. Go and do your research. It's all bullshit. Our bodies are composed of gazillions of viruses, of bacteria, of fungi, all sorts of things. And they all play a part. And if everything is in balance, and they are in balance, and the right nutrients are coming in from all over the place, that we're eating, we're thinking, what we're doing mentally, emotionally, physically, then these things play their part to protect us. That's what they do. They're our defense mechanism. That's what the immune system is about. Understand how the immune system works. Get off your mainstream nonsense and start doing some research out of mainstream. There's a huge amount of it now because we're going through a period of disclosure. And I know you all know what I'm talking about, because anyone who is completely lost right now, you need to go back to the beginning of this channel or go somewhere else, because I'm really, not want to say targeting, but I will attract the kind of individual that is asking questions critically and wants to wake up and is asking critical questions and then wants to take action. A lot of people know stuff. God, how many people do I know who say, yes, Sabra, I know, and then they do nothing. I have very little respect for those people. Very little. It's better to be asleep than be awake. Know what you need to do and then never get around to doing it because you're just stupid, basically. So my brother and I fell ill. Now, we didn't catch it from anywhere. I certainly didn't go anywhere. We're both at my parents' house. My parents have been fine. And it was a very, very nasty strain of whatever it was that was going on inside us of toxin, where for 2 days I actually couldn't get my head out of bed. Now, nobody, including my brother and I, could understand, because think about it. We are healthy individuals insofar as everything we eat is homemade. We don't eat from out. We don't drink. We don't smoke. We don't take any form of substances. We take walks every day. We exercise, especially my brother. He's much better than I am, although I'm back into it now. And we do good for society. We're good people, and we're compos mentis. Yes, he'd gone through a little bit of stress recently. He travelled on business, but I certainly hadn't. So what was it? Anyway, first up, it took me 2 days to get over the worst of it. And then it was just a case of gaining strength and, of course, supporting myself with the right food substances and everything else that I did. And I'm fine now. My immune system worked. The only time that I took some form of pharmaceutical was the old-fashioned Beecham's powders, and I had to take that because there was a very important piece of work that I had to do where I had to think clearly, and therefore I took that to suppress some of the symptoms, but aside from that, nothing. I let nature take its course, as did my brother. We just let nature take its course. And of course you feel stronger now because you've now got soldiers within your body that have recognised an alien that's come in, what it tried to do. But what I want to say to you is, after a lot of thought about this as to how and why this happened to us, I'll tell you why it happened. I know now. I know now for 2 reasons. I first suspected it after 24 hours, and then after 6 days, as I was healing, an image just came into my mind that confirmed it, and that's all I needed. You may know all through history, because when people are ill, and those that have animals or plants, the animals or plants take on the disease on behalf of the owner, especially with cats and dogs. You find that when a cat has died of cancer, quite often there's something going on in the home, and people say, well, they're more sensitive or this. It's not a coincidence. Well, it is coincidence. What had happened is that my brother and I had took on the frequency of this disease on behalf of my parents, my father, who's now nearly 90, and my mother, who's just turned 80. There is no doubt in my mind about that, not so much his, because he's got an allopathic mind. Fortunately, I have right brain thinking, and I understand that all disease is frequency. It's a bandwidth. I've talked about this many, many times. And if you're in an environment where that frequency is prevalent for whatever reason, it can catch you. My parents are vulnerable, they're old, and albeit they have pretty strong immune systems, my father not so much, and which has been completely bashed by this. But nonetheless, being born in the 40s in India, and none of this shite going on around them, and eating the right foods and having a lot of sun. The sun, of course, is of paramount importance. They had strong immune systems, so we've also got that my brother and I, especially the two oldest, as well as my younger siblings. We took on a frequency that was in their house. The same thing had happened where my brother had said, just out of the blue, a few days before, and I was there, I was only there for 10-15 minutes when he was there, and his words were, I'm going to go home tonight. He just arrived. He said, I'm going to go home because I can feel something coming. He'd gone, and he was gone the next day. And me, 2 days later, I was in the house, and I said to my mother, do you know what? I can feel something happening. I can feel something coming. My throat was a little sore, and I said, I'm not feeling well. I'm going straight home. I went home, same thing that night, bang. So we can take on the frequency of disease on behalf of others. And this leads to the main bulk of this video, where I want to explain why it's so absolutely imperative that you look after your own body, that we look after our own body if we are going to help others. Not least for this story that I've just told you, but just for everything. Because when our minds are thinking clearly and we're able to absorb photonic light, and we have the ability to link to source, magic happens. We can heal anything. We can think clearly, and we'll make the right choices. So when I made some notes here, and as you know, I'm an avid researcher, and I'm an avid reader, and I'm somebody who spends huge amounts of time in silence and in nature, and I am someone who is very, very aware and can trust her inner tuition and is wholly connected to source most of the time. And therefore, when I learn things, even though I don't remember everything, when I need to remember, when I need to ask for help and call upon something, the answers just come to my doorstep. Not just like this and dropping out of the sky, but I'm led to the right books. I'm led to watching the right broadcast or YouTube video, or something happens. So, I've got some notes here, and it might be worth you, after watching this video, go back, fast forward to this part of it, and make some notes and just start on these things. I'm going to talk about the vitamins, minerals and nutrients that you can take that can help to remove toxins from your blood and your body. And you write these down, then go back and do your own research, and then start to understand what I'm talking about, and then incorporate it in tiny elements into your life, especially now after this gluttonous let's just stuff our face season, which is again by design, people are going to fall very unwell. People haven't got money now because they've spent it all, because they like to follow the crowd. And so everybody's spending, and we've got to spend. I've got to do this. It's on sale. Oh, let's buy this, even though we don't need it. You know, no minds of their own. That's the masses. We're living in the Matrix. Have you seen the film? Go back and watch it. That is what the masses are. They're quite happy to be sucked in by the Matrix. They're not using their own mind. Slaves. That's what they are, and probably you too. Hopefully not if you're watching this. And I was for many years. No more. Not a chance. Can't. Once your eyes open, you can't go back. It's not possible. You're not living in the same reality as the rest. Go and watch The Matrix. I think it's on Prime. Free. Which it should be, but anyway, but okay. So I've got my little book here, and I'm just going to read some things out to you that I wrote down when I was unwell, and then got these things out of my cupboard, ordered a couple of them. And now I'm focusing on making sure that I have this routine regularly, and even better than it was before. First, understand that from our soils, all the essential trace elements are lost. I've talked about this in many videos. Our mineral content of the soil is completely depleted. That is what we need inside our bodies. So what we do, because most of the soil, mine is an exception because I've worked very hard on it, but I'm thinking about you and everybody else too who doesn't yet garden. Come back to that another time. So what a lot of people are doing are looking at the greens that they can get from the sea, which have high mineral content. So you've got things like Irish moss, you've got dulce, knotted bladder, channel rat, chlorella, spirulina. A lot of these things you can get in a very, very good super green powder. And I've explained to you my super green powder. I use athletic greens, and do not for a moment say to me, oh, that's too expensive. If you're someone who's gone out and celebrated this festival that they call Christmas, and you've bought things unnecessarily, and you go out and buy coffees in these plastic cups that are leaching poisons, and you're drinking all that poison, not least the fact that it's already poisoned anyway, but it's becoming poisoned by putting that hot drink into a plastic cup that's just leaching microplastics and just killing you. What do you want me to say? Killing you. You know, people like to die slowly these days. So don't tell me it's expensive. Look it up, do your research, look at what's inside it, find an alternative if you want to. But these things are important because they hold a lot of oxygen within them. And then, of course, there are many land sources. Again, you'll find these in the green juices as well, the green powders. Barley, barley grass, wheatgrass, alfalfa. Now, again, when you're looking for these green super greens, make sure you look at the source. Where are these things grown? They need to be organic. This is very important, otherwise it's pointless. You're just putting more toxins in. But invest in it because it's a spoon a day. It's the difference between health and disease, what I'm talking about. This is very important. I don't want to sound like all the other nonsense that you hear on YouTube where they just focus on this, this and this. I'm talking about a way of life, and so that you understand. This is because we are not getting the minerals from our vegetables anymore because of the depletion of minerals, trace elements in the soil. The other thing is clay. Now look up Terramin. Do some research on Terramin, and the other one is Himalayan shilajit resin. Again, I kind of mix that in with the effect that the Terramin has, the clay has inside the body. I don't want to go into what clay does and doesn't. Look it up. The other things that are very, very, very dense in nutrients are wild herbs. Again, many times I've talked about this. So you've got things like nettle. Go into the hedgerows and look for nettle leaves and even the stalks. So powerful, and I explained to you just a handful of nettle is worth more in mineral content because the roots go very, very deep into the soil than a big massive pile of greens that you buy from the supermarket. Chuck it all out and just get a handful of nettle leaves, please. Use your mind and brain to think differently about this. It requires a paradigm shift in thinking. Nutrient, quality of nutrients. Dandelion, elderflower, calendula. I grew a lot of those last year, but were they organic? Yarrow, horsetail. The other thing that happens, and I wrote this down, is that microbes inside the soil are also destroyed. Now, just so that you know what they are, these microbes are what decompose the plant material inside the soil to produce substances I've talked about in my compost heap, humus. So they produce humic substances, and you've got humic acid within that and fulvic acid within that. Okay. So to understand the difference between the two, I looked this up just so I can articulate it to you. What fulvic acid does, it delivers nutrients into the cells and it removes waste products. And it does a lot more than that, but that's one of its major functions. What humic acid does is that it shifts the terrain, the biological terrain, from an acidic landscape to an oxygen-filled landscape, which is alkaline and not acidic. So those two things are also present in our soils when the soil is working correctly. Why do you think we're all so sick? It's not even a choice. When you understand health the way I do, and this is the way you should understand it, you would be jumping to sort out your garden if you've got one, nurture your soil, make your own compost and grow your own food. It would be a no-brainer. Something has to just click in your brain. You have to think in your head, immune function, the function of the brain, the thyroid, your libido. This is why you need to get rid of all these toxins. And all of these things prevent these viruses that are within us that are attacking the actual toxin from penetrating our host cells and stopping them, stopping the actual virus cells reproducing. I've still got that cough where there's mucus coming up, and again that's toxins coming out, which is good. So there are 12 primary tissue salts. Let me just break them down into the 6 that they are. They turn into 12 because you've got the fluoride, phosphate, sulfate and so on. But you've got potassium, you've got calcium, sodium and magnesium, and I talked about them a lot in previous videos. Go back and listen. As with everything on my channel, it starts to make sense when you start making connections, and that can only happen when you watch all the videos, because it's like a story, the story of life, little bits. She said that, oh she said that. You know, there's no place on this channel for quick bursts of information that can fix you. Ain't gonna happen. I'm not an allopathic nonsense bullshitter. I'm talking about a way of life and living as a whole, as we did in the ancient days, traditional days. Those people were intelligent. We are generally a thick, dumb race, because that's what's happened to us. We don't know how to think. We don't know that we don't know how to think. So you've got calcium, potassium, sodium, magnesium, and then there's iron, and then there's silica. Really important, all 6 of those. Now, the other thing I want to, so for example, your raw unpasteurised apple cider vinegar, I mean, if you can have a little bit of that every single day, just take it in some water. There's many ways of taking things. You don't have to get so bogged down in, oh, should I have it with this? Should I have it with that? I make a little concoction as well, with which I'm going to talk about. I wrote it down, which has got turmeric in it, and it's got coriander in it, and I put some raw unpasteurised apple cider vinegar in, and a few other bits and pieces, and a little bit of honey, raw honey, and I have that every day, as well as my green juice. These are things I put in every day. I've got this wonderful drink I'm drinking here, which is made up of all sorts of different types of herbs that I've steeped together, and I drink this 2 or 3 times a day. I have 1 big teaspoon, and I use hot water on it 3 times to get as much of it out as I can. These are things I do as a way of life. And this long video, but it's okay, it's worth it. So right, tissue salts, so I talked about them, and in another video I'll talk to you about which ones I use and how I use them and so on. This herbal tea that I've got is a mixture of horsetail, dandelion leaf, nettle leaf, calendula, yarrow, licorice, cleavers. It's a really great tea for the winter months. And I just put hot water in one of those little teapots, just enough to fill this, and then I let it steep. It's really strong, and then I drink that, and then I just carry on adding water, a little bit of honey. I mentioned that just now. And then there are all sorts of homeopathic remedies you can have as well that will serve the same purpose. The other really vital mineral is sulphur. Sulphur is so important, and it's present in all foods that are grown organically. So a lot of the things in my garden had good qualities of sulphur, a good amount of sulphurs in. So you've got first of all, your meats, mainly in animal products, meat, fish, eggs, dairy, onions and garlic are full of sulphur. Now, it doesn't mean you just go and down loads of it, but bring that into your diet as often as possible. Garlic especially, as soon as I fell ill, I got raw cloves of garlic and started munching on them straight away. I wouldn't do that ordinarily, but I did it. I got 2 or 3 cloves and just started munching on them. I've talked about garlic. What is it? It's an antiviral. It's an antibiotic. It's nature's brilliant antibiotic. It kills at the very first stage of the innate, if you can get it within the first 48 hours, it kills off the pathogen so that you don't get to stage 2, which I did anyway, but it still went a long way to help. I know it did. There is a sulphur supplement you can get called MSM. You have to look for the right type. But the other thing that's really good for getting sulphur into your body are Epsom salts. I think that's magnesium sulfate. That's for magnesium as well. Get a good quality Epsom salt and put that into your bath water. And the other thing I would put into the bath water is a spoon of ascorbic acid, which is found in vitamin C, because our water is full of chlorine and shit. And that gets absorbed into your skin when you're showering and bathing. You can actually get these little bath bomb things that take out that rubbish. You can put it by the shower, by your tap. Little tiny things that you can do once you understand how cumulatively damaging it is. Imagine our children and what it's doing to our kids. It's not something you can ignore. I use a Barkey water filter to filter my water. The Barkey water filter is one of the best, in my opinion, in the world. It's got 2 carbon filters and it's got 2 fluoride filters. And you don't have to change those filters all the time. They last forever. Again, do your research. It's an expensive piece of equipment, but the actual filters last forever. You know, years, 3 years, 4 years. I can't remember how many thousand gallons of water you can actually put through it, but you've got to look after it and maintain it. The other thing you can do is bless water. I mean, I do all of those things. Right, so you've got, so that's sulphur. Iodine is another thing. Again, I will elaborate on all of this in other videos. Keep your eye on it because I'm really focusing on this year, on the real particulars of what you can do to remove toxins from your body. Pay attention, please, if it matters to you. Iodine. Oh, Barbara Wren talks about this so much in her book, Cellular Awakening. And that's a book, I can't actually go ahead and finish it because when I was reading it, there's so many words in there that I would have to change to stop the video from being taken down. If you remember, one of my videos of her book, the book reading, was taken down because she talked about childhood jabs and I'm not going to mention some other stuff. So what I recommended to you in a following video was get the book. Get the book. Anything that is taken down by mainstream, you want to be interested in and pay more attention to. I'll talk more about censorship in another video. I've figured something out after speaking to a very good techie friend. I mean, a very high-tech friend I've got, and he explained why my videos were being taken down even though I've got hardly any presence, and why other people who talk about jabs all day, their videos stay up. And he explained it and it made perfect sense. So I'll explain that to you in another video. So we talk about iodine, and iodine you can find if you get a very, very good quality salt, your proper sea salt, Celtic sea salt that you get, for example, from Brittany. It's that grey, almost wet salt. They're in crystal form. And if you buy that and you just take a couple of those crystals and put that into your into water and drink that, you'll have tiny trace elements of iodine in there. But if you're doing that every day, you're getting the right salt. Salt is not bad for you. That's nonsense. Salt-like substances are bad for you, like table salt. But our blood has look at the percentage of salt in our bloodstream, and then tell me why people actually believe the nonsense that you shouldn't be having salt because it will raise your blood pressure. Bullshit. Do your homework. There's salt and there's salt. There's milk and there's milk. There's meat and there's meat. Come on, guys. So you get a lot of iodine from marine plants and animals. You need iodized salt. I've just talked about a very good one, a natural salt. Fish, good quality fish, seaweed. And Lugols Iodine, I did a lot of research on Lugols Iodine, and even though it's not from a natural source, the effects that it has on people, positive effects, too many studies done to ignore. So I've got that in my fridge, and I have a little bit of that with water. Not every day, I do all different things, but cumulatively, you know, I'm looking after myself quite well. And then magnesium. Magnesium is very, very important. Even though that comes under tissue salts, most people are pretty lacking in magnesium. It's just completely been leached from our entire food source. So again, Epsom salt baths are very, very good for that because there's magnesium, it's magnesium sulfate. Avocados, almonds, cashews. Get some fresh almonds, get some quality almonds and soak them in some quality raw milk. My mum does this every day. She's got some almonds and she'll either soak it in milk or in water. And then my dad will have, and her will have 3 or 4 a day. This is something they used to do in India forever, full of magnesium. And they did it especially in the winter because it's warming. It has a warming effect inside the body. Lentils, beans and peas, again, quality ones that have got magnesium in. Flaxseed, pumpkin seed, chia seeds, very good for magnesium. Mustard greens, bananas. I've got mustard greens in my greenhouse at the moment. And then finally, silica. Silica is important for bone density, for your skin and your nails. Again, I shared in a previous video how healthy my skin is. And I mean, there's no filter. This is how my skin looks. And this is after I have been not very well. And it's just, you know, it's in very, very good health. The only makeup that I actually wear is under eye concealer, because I've got very dark circles under my eyes from childhood. So I do wear an under eye concealer. That's it. Maybe a tiny little bit of mascara. I don't need to. In fact, my eyelashes are growing since I've been using castor oil on my skin as well, but also on my eyelids. And if you use castor oil regularly, it actually, and if you use it on your eyelids, just gently, and on your eyelashes, but on the eyelids, it seeps through and it breaks down, especially elderly who might have cataracts, but it breaks down all of the, there's a name, but I can't remember what cataracts are, but anyway, it breaks the cells down so that you can see again over a period of time. And it has to be a quality castor oil that is hexane free, hexane being a chemical. You normally get these castor oils from India. So silica, good for your skin, nails, cartilage, connective tissue. And as we get older, we seem to be able to absorb less silica into our bloodstream. I don't know why that is. But the other good thing about silica is that it has the effect of actually eliminating aluminium particulates that are coming in from outside and from what we eat and wear and buy and so on. So one of the things that I read, which I found esoteric, of course, because esoteric is real. It's not nonsense, it's real. There's all the other stuff. Just because there's no empirical evidence and it can't be written down to prove it, doesn't mean it's not real. It means left-brained logic and reason can't prove it. That's all it means. There are many things that happen that you can't prove, and that's just the point. That's why logic and reason is nonsense, and it doesn't take precedence over your right brain. It helps, but it is not the primary concern. I look at that last. I source other esoteric, I source my metaphoric, symbolic, my own inner tuition, not intuition and gut. No. Mine is much stronger than that. This is not, the gut instinct, I would argue, comes last. When everything else isn't working, the gut instinct kicks in. But when you are aligned to source and you're firing from source, that gives you the answers. That's a link to what they call today as God, but it's actually consciousness, Atman, which is part of what is all there and pervading in our universe. It's just there all the time. It doesn't think. This is beyond the mind. This transcends the mind. It transcends perception. The other thing, silica, you can find in Terramin Clay. I think that's 55% silica I've written here. So, yeah, very, very good. Vitamin C is very important, but you want to focus on ascorbic acid. You need very high dose of ascorbic acid with lysine, and take that every day. I make sure my parents have a high dose vitamin C every day, and now I'm going to get them a much better quality version of it that I have sourced. I'll share that with you next time. The other way you can get magnesium is there's a company called Floridix. They do a really good liquid multivitamin formula, but they also have liquid magnesium, and that works well if you take that with your green powder, and you take that with some lemon juice and even some of that clay. I'll talk about that another time. And you can add a raw egg yolk to it. Again, a proper egg. Okay. So that's what I wanted to share with you. There's a lot of other things I want to talk to you about, water, but for now, there's plenty there for you to write down and start building a history of what type of things to take to get toxins out of your body bit by bit. And then I'll eventually explain what they do inside the body. Now you then take the responsibility to do your own research and look for them. But I want you to watch this space, because this year I am going to be moving forward with talking to companies that I have spent so long researching their products, and these aren't just companies. I know the people that own them, that run them. It's only when that happens that I will recommend. Otherwise I won't. I'll say do your own research, or this is what I do, try it. But when I find a company which is through somebody I know or I'm working with, someone I found just recently who is on my naturopathy course with me and is way ahead in what he's doing, but his thinking, it's because I always look at the person's thinking. Do they say what they do what they say? Are they only interested in making money, are uncompromising on quality, or do they really care about human beings and where the world is going? If I can align with somebody's thoughts and know that they are a people of integrity and truth, then what they promote is a high probability of being the same, because they can't live any other way. And there are very few of those people and far between, and I am one of them. I am one of them, and we're very few and far between. It's not possible to be somebody of no integrity and do things wrong by others when you're living on the frequency of nature, nature's principles. Remember what I mean by that. Watch the videos, all of them. When you're in alignment to the principles of nature and nature's law that governs and pervades this universe and the cosmos, you can't live any other way, because you understand that everything you say and do has an immediate effect and a consequence. And when you care about the world and its people, there is no way that you could even think of doing something that could have a negative effect or consequence on the whole, which includes all of you. Because for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And it's not as simple as that, but understand what I mean there. When you know this truth, it's not possible. It's not possible to even live, to just go and make money and pay your bills. Your thought patterns will change. And when your thought patterns change, that's when the world around you change. Go and watch The Matrix. This is talked about in there when Neo was learning from what's his name? Morpheus. What you have is all about the mind. What your mind sees is what is going to manifest. And it's, again, not as simple as what I'm saying. That I'm just trying to explain that it's the mind. So once your mind is vibrating on a different frequency, different things happen around you. You can even take on the illness of others and deal with it, just as my brother and I did. That is a certainty. I know that happened. That's the magic and the power that we are. Have a wonderful Sunday until next time.